time to start the workshop for checking your innovation via network APIs. I'm Lauri Alho, heading the ecosystem development for Network as Code platform, especially in Europe markets, meaning that I look after the potential enterprises who want to tap into network APIs technologies, and then also the CSPs who want to expose those network APIs to the enterprises. In this 50 minutes workshop, I will walk you through about what problems we are solving, benefits for the developers, and innovative use cases. So firstly, I set the frame for the discussion, then explain how developers can use that, and then also what people, companies have already done around the world, and then also showing a real-life demonstration. So I will take a remote connection to one of our Network as Code enabled environments and show how all these new fancy features are implemented. So, what problems are we solving? If you think about today's software development, it usually happens so that you don't need to build from the ground up all the capabilities in your, for example, software applications. Instead, nowadays, you are focusing more on bringing the best pieces together by downloading specific libraries and SDKs which are used to build your solution. From this picture, for example, AWS can be used to scale up globally your backend systems. Google, you might use Google Maps SDK to plot your location in the application, and why not integrate some AI from OpenAI's ChatGPT. But the thing is that so far, software developers haven't had that good capabilities to control the network which the enterprises or their customers are using. If you are, for example, booking a ride with a car ride app, there's nothing much that the software developers for those taxi apps can do to ensure that your 5G connectivity actually works in the areas where you are booking the taxi. Similarly, if you are streaming video from some of those streaming platforms, the streaming service provider can just hope that you have a good signal coverage, and events like these can also make a lot of congestion in the 5G networks, which might decrease then the service quality. So we as a Nokia have identified that problem, and therefore we are now letting the software developers to tap into the powerful 5G related capabilities from the CSPs all around the world. And we call our solution Network as Code, and the Network as Code is our platform which gives an easy access to tap into those capabilities. So what are then the programmable networks? If you think it from the how things have happened before and how those can happen in the future, we are changing the relation how applications interact. So previously, applications have been more like over the top of the underlying 5G networks. But now, when we give access for the software developers to let applications modify, get data from those underlying networks, it opens up a totally new innovations and capabilities for those solutions. It also means that the CSPs can then monetize their 5G networks, because operators are struggling to find new ways to monetize 5G network investments. 4G, it already gives a very high data rates, but then the question is that how you can really monetize the new next generation mobile network investments. One of the examples why the programmable networks are important is that there's one reference case from United States, and it went all around the media. There was one use case where self-autonomous driving taxi company were driving with their cars next to a music festival, music concert. And the problem was that because next to that stadium or entertainment venue, there were so many people consuming that same public 5G network, those self-driving cars actually lost the connectivity one by one when they reached close enough that entertainment space. So it made a huge mess in that area, because basically they couldn't anymore communicate over the network to get directions or information where should those cars go. So I think that's a quite practical example to show that these kind of things we can now solve with the powerful network APIs and also with our network as code platform. So if you wonder what the network APIs specifically are, the network APIs, some definition here also visible, those are some APIs which are abstracted and created such an easy way to use that you don't need to be yourselves telco experts. Because when we go into this telecommunication domain, there can be 3GPP or TMF standardized APIs, and those, if you want to study and understand, you need to spend a lot of time to understand that. So therefore, the network APIs offer an easy to use way for any C++, Python, C#, Kotlin software developers to take the best use of these complex 5G networks, do the abstraction that we are doing. And via that standardization, we from Nokia's Network as Code platform are offering a very simple set of APIs via easy to download SDKs into your solutions. And you can see on the right hand side some of the capabilities which we are already exposing from our platform. For example, there's device location, and what it means is that you can, with one line of Python code, request the real-time location of your IoT or real mobile phone device or the 5G modem. And that location is actually pulled from the operator's systems, so it's not using GPS. Instead, it's just also bulletproof way to get the location of the device, and you cannot spoof it like GPS. And if there's GPS jamming ongoing, you don't need to either worry about that one. And then we have many other capabilities also available, like QoD, bandwidth boost. So if we are in events like these, where you might have some throughput problems with your phones in the future, you might be able, just with the press of a button, give a bandwidth boost to your most important services and take those into use without any service disruption. And from Nokia Network as Code point of view, we are targeting for global outreach, which means that because in all the CSP networks, the 5G capabilities are standardized, we can connect to all the CSP networks globally. And at the end of the day, offer for the software developer companies the single SDK which gives access to all of those CSP networks globally. So you don't need yourselves to download and negotiate 200 different agreements with all the CSPs globally. Instead, you can just have one-stop shop of our Nokia's Network as Code platform, download the SDKs, and just by, for example, parameterizing the phone number, you can route via our platform the requests to the correct networks, whether it is Orange network here in France, or T-Mobile network in the United States, or Telia network in Finland. And before jumping on the use cases, there's also one additional view for the CSP's point of view. So as I mentioned, the CSPs are looking after for the ways to monetize their 5G investments. So when they integrate into our Nokia's hosted global backend Network as Code platform, they also at the same time bring their 5G networks available to be programmed by the third-party software developers. And it means that they get a new way to monetize those 5G networks, because today from 4G, 3G, 2G networks, you cannot, for example, do those bandwidth boosts easily. You cannot get the device location from the device easily. And you cannot neither, for example, provision a slice guaranteed resources for the network easily. So that's our plan for Network as Code platform. And we are working ourselves very hard to make that true and in the available as many markets as possible. And one of the late actions that we did was also that we acquisitioned Rapid Technology and R&D unit. And I think we announced that press release just a week or two ago. And the plan is that we are now integrating these powerful Rapid API capabilities into our Network as Code platform. And actually tomorrow, Mikko Jarva from Nokia, he's actually sitting here, will give a keynote speech where I think he can also tackle a little bit more about the strategy behind this one and what it means for our network as code solution. So let's jump now in this workshop to look more about what happens under the hood of network as code platform. So from this picture, what you can see is one way to show what we are doing. And if you think about application, it is any application that you can find from your mobile phone in your pocket or any enterprise application that utilize 5G. And those applications can now interact with their connected underlying networks also via the network as code platform. And what it means is that we as a Nokia have developed this developer experience. We have publicly available Nokia Network as Code Developer Portal. We offer the sandbox environments, all the authentication and consent management, analytics, all things that nowadays are offered for these SDKs and libraries that other companies also publish to be used for the companies around the world. And once the software developer visits that page, they can get all the information like in 15-30 minutes to start onboarding those capabilities, firstly to simulated 5G devices, and then when you're ready with your tests, you can actually switch the parameters so that you can start to run all of these capabilities with real devices. And what it means is that when you run one line of code here, then it always connects into a Nokia's global backend. And from there, with the authentication consent, when those are in place, the request is then routed to the correct CSP network. So for example, if you use Orange phone number here, then the Orange phone number information would route that request to Orange network. And you can see also here some of the capabilities which we have already available or which we have in the pipeline to study further. You might notice that there are missing some CPaaS, communication platform as a service capabilities, and therefore we have also announced some time ago the Infobip partnership. And what the Infobip partnership means is that we are bringing these Infobip CPaaS services also available in the network as code platform. So it is a perfect match to give these SIM swap, know your customer, know your customer feeling and match capabilities also available for the solutions that already utilize network as code, and then vice versa. Infobip has a huge developer ecosystem, so we are also offering them the network as code capabilities for their customers. So that's short background about to set the frame for this workshop, and now let's move next to the example applications and use cases, so customer stories around the world. And we have already done quite a lot of pilots, trials, and demonstrations in various CSP networks, such as together with Orange and together with Elisa, Telenet, and so on. And here are just a couple of those verticals which we have been tapped into, and then the companies who we are collaborating with. And actually, before talking about other use cases, let me invite to the stage Alexandru from Orange to tell you more about how Orange sees this collaboration with Network as Code and what you have done lately.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Maybe I can actually just grab a microphone. So thanks for having Orange in your workshop. So yes, last week, in fact, we had our innovation event, Orange Open Tech. So during this event, in fact, what we wanted to highlight was the diversity of use of network APIs, and we actually had a couple of demos. One of them was one with Nokia. We had Jonathan Klein from San Francisco from Nokia that came to Paris. So it was great for us to actually showcase how we can empower developers to use these network APIs, and they can transcend into real use cases for the enterprise sector. So I think in the next slide, we're actually talking about the fact that we are a true believer of network APIs. So we believe in that because we are sitting on a lot of like network capabilities that before were not necessarily, they were kind of like hidden. So now we're trying to like enable them. And how do we enable them? As Laurie said, we're also like trying to like standardize them. So that means that developers can use it whenever they want. They just code once and then they can be used easily. And we think that exposing APIs on just one platform is probably not enough. So that's why we're partnering with Nokia to actually have a subset of our APIs on Network as Code. But at the same time, we also want to empower more developers to use these APIs. And we actually had a great experience with Nokia at VivaTech at Paris. We had a great hackathon and we had some good follow-ups, I think, with the developers. So we want to build on that. And the use case that we showcased at Orange OpenTech was more for the industry sector. It was a use case on worker safety. Now we can also, just because the slides, they're just like visual, we actually created a video for you to kind of enjoy what we showcased last week in Châtillon here in south of Paris. Network APIs are capabilities coming out of like the operator network, and these are important functionalities that were historically hidden behind kind of closed doors. Now we're opening them up, and we are also enabling an ecosystem of use cases, and that's why we have a partnership with Nokia, so we can enable more of these advanced use cases and also to engage with the developer community. In this partnership, now we're enabling a use case on incident response, more enterprise solution, and I can let Jonathan explain how it actually works.
Yeah, so today we are showing a couple of partners who have put together a end-to-end solution for incident response that involves a video analytics solution that is taking streaming video of an incident, in this case detecting a fire that is occurring, and using network APIs to optimize that video feed and analysis and response to the video using what's called quality of service on demand to boost the bandwidth to the camera. And then that incident is sent to a worker safety platform from Innova Solutions that is able to pinpoint the location of the problem and dispatch the workforce or let the workers know that there is a hazard and they should evacuate. So really the key here is we are improving existing types of applications and use cases with network APIs to provide better differentiated software solutions.
So Orange and Nokia are continuing to grow this partnership by enabling these APIs being present on Orange Developer, but also like Nokia Network as Code. And in this way, we can grow the ecosystem by having more developers trying these APIs and coming up with new use cases for the enterprise sector. So this is just the introduction. Now I can maybe guide you through what's actually happening in the demo. So we have actually two platforms from our partners Radisys and Innova Solutions that are working also with Nokia. So we have one platform, a video analytics platform that does video inferencing. So whenever there's a need, it's requesting on-demand, quality on-demand boost. So it's changing the profile to make sure the quality of the video stream is stable. At the same time, these two platforms interact each other. So whenever an incident is detected, like a fire, I think Jonathan was just talking in the video, then there's an event that is going to this other platform. And what this other platform does is more like an incident management platform. So it records all the incidents, in a construction site, and it's taking advantage of device location API, which is quite a powerful API because it gives the exact location from the cell tower of that where different workers are located. And this comes handy when, for example, GPS is not easily used, for example, in a tunnel situation, or where we want to make sure the location is double checked, right? So then we would send these notifications to workers so they can evacuate. And the fun fact is that these APIs are on Network as Code, and they are used by these applications. So applications request whenever they want these APIs, and I think that's kind of the let's say the true story here, that we let applications and developers use these APIs, and then they can construct this use case. As a product manager, it's my let's say it's my vision of like using these APIs to create these products for companies, but at the same time, I want to make sure developers are also being listened to. So we want to hear also feedback from developers on how is the API being used. If we need to maybe go back to the open source community and maybe we can enhance the specification. So any feedback from the developer community is important for me personally as a product manager. And I think the next slide is just showcasing that we have our own developer portal, but at the same time, a subset of these APIs are available on Network as Code. Thank you so much.
Yep, right. So thanks, Alex, for your views around the Network as Code in Orange collaboration. And now for the next part, let me show you other use cases which we have done together with other CSPs and partners. So the first one is remote vessel operations, and looks like I'm now flagging the background image, but it doesn't matter. Let me show you a demonstration how Telenet, CFAR, and IMEC utilized these capabilities. So we announced this successful test this February in Mobile World Congress. And what was the role of Nokia Network as Code here? Firstly, the Telenet acted as a CSP in this use case. IMEC was the developer company who have the software developers to take all those capabilities into use, and CFAR is the business application company, so the company who then benefits from those capabilities. And what was the background? Basically, the CFAR, it's a company who have the SOR control center, and they operate in the port of Antwerp in Belgium. What they need to do is they offer a service for remote operations for ships and vessels in that area. And the port of Antwerp, it's a very busy area. There's 50,000 ships yearly bypassing through. So it also means that there needs to be a captains who are licensed to operate in that area. And see for what they do if the ship doesn't have a licensed captain, instead of physically moving the captain to the ship to steer it inside the port area, they can connect wirelessly, remotely to that ship and do the navigation. But the problem is that the CFAR is such a small company, they cannot have a private 5G installed into that huge area in the Antwerp harbors, and therefore they need to rely on the public 5G. But what it means is that when they are connecting from the SOR control center to the ships and vessels, which have the 5G modems in place, if at the same time other enterprises or some music festival is consuming the network, they cannot do the operations because they have specific SLAs that needs to be in place. So they need to have at least 5 megabits throughput from the camera, and when they are steering the ship, it needs to be less than 30 milliseconds. And if those are high values, they cannot do the steering. They need to stop the operation, wait that congestion bypasses, and of course it's a lost time for anyone in the port of Antwerp area. So, how did the CFAR and IMEC improve the existing solution? Basically, when the ship was arriving to that port of Antwerp area, they had already that existing solution. The IMEC just added a couple lines of code into the solution to ensure that in this geofenced area, whenever the ship arrives, it will run automatically the quality on demand boost. So what it means is that if the captain is actively steering that and the ship arrives to that area, in the background, without even the captain knowing, they can boost that specific connectivity of that ship. So it means that there won't be any disturbance by the other users because that specific connection is assured to receive the needed bandwidth and latency. And what that meant as an end result, it meant that the fuel was saved, CO2 emissions minimized, and even people in, for example, wheelchairs can still work as a captains. And that seafar and maritime use case, it's one of those hazardous industries because it's actually quite risky to bring the captain in a small boat next to a huge ship, and they need to physically jump to that boat. So this also tackles some of those safety concerns that can be in that area. So that was one of the use cases from Belgium. And then what other use cases we have developed? Let me talk a little bit about Elisa collaboration in Finland. So in Finland we have Nokia Arena, our brand new smart venue, and I'm also looking after collaborations there, and together with Elisa we are collaborating with the dozens of companies taking the best capabilities into use from Network as Code. And there are a couple which I tap into. Those are broadcasting, device positioning, and remote driving. And the first one, it is how to apply Network as Code quality on demand to television broadcasts. So here is a Finnish company called Kepit Systems, and they are specializing to do live productions over 4G, 5G networks. And in this video you see that when the network is congested for their use, they have a poor streaming quality. But it's just a matter of a button press or automation which enables you to optimize that important stream. So we can take a look of that video also again. So when they are in the congested environment, when the radio doesn't have enough throughput, they cannot use that kind of footage as part of the national television broadcasts, whether they are doing some skiing broadcasting or football or whatever sports or event they are capturing. But now with Network as Code QOD, we proved that these kind of use cases can be improved and tackled to have that good bandwidth, even though there are other users at the same time in these events and concerts. And the main benefit is that today Kepit Systems is using 2, 3, 4 SIM cards, and they are actually using some technology to try to get even a couple kilobits through by one of those SIM card lines. So they're trying to find that where they can get just even a couple of megabits to send that live stream through. But now with Network as Code QOD, they can optimize their operations quite nicely because they can also now give a bandwidth boost to their solution. Then another example from Nokia Arena is our Nokia Radio World experience. So last September last year, we invited hundreds of Nokia's mobile network CSP customers to Nokia Arena to hear the latest news from 4G and 5G areas. And as part of that, we also developed this immersive arena experience application together with Immersal. And what it did, by just pulling your phone anywhere in the arena, you were able to identify the system, identified first with the camera where you are, and then we were able to show, for example, daily specific agendas, some guidance, digital banners, and even 3D models of our just announced Nokia radios for the event visitors, because we couldn't manage to bring those physically to that place. So it was quite exciting to see the customers just picking up their phone, opening the application, just looking around for a couple of seconds, and then they were able to immerse themselves through this application. And even I remember one of those software developers noticed that, hey, there is a new radio which I'm interested. Let me take a screenshot to study it further. So it also acted as a knowledge transfer and educational tool for the event visitors. But there was one problem. So the Nokia Arena is a huge arena, 50,000 square meter space. And even this Immersal's great visual positioning system can lose itself because you are relying only on the camera input. It means that you might not know that are you now in the northern part of the arena, southern part of the arena, are you now in the 4th floor or 6th floor? So to tackle that problem, we collaborated once again and create a POC to show that by integrating device location API from network as code, you were able to give to the device a rough estimate where you are in that huge arena. So when you open the application, you can get the pre-position. It gives you a rough estimate because the arena is full of 5G radios. You can, like in 20 meters, 10 meters accuracy, say that, hey, now you're in the northern part. And when you get that information, Immersal's backend systems can then skip from their tens of scanned maps to those not needed ones, because if you know already that hey, you're in the northern part of the arena, why you try to match your view to the maps and scans from the southern part of the arena? That can improve the experience quite a lot. So that was one of the trials that we did at the Nokia Arena, and not long after that we actually hopped outside the arena because we couldn't bring cars inside the ice hockey rink. And we went to Espoo in the Nokia headquarters, and we collaborated with Estonian teledriving company called Elmo. And in this video you can see that the car which is driving in front of the windows or behind the windows, it doesn't have any driver inside, because the driver is this one in front of the window. And Elmo's daily business is to offer technology to enable teledriving. So it means that you don't necessarily need to have a driver inside the car. Why not to equip the car with remote controlling systems, 5G modems, and you are ready to teledrive it. Use cases can vary from those hazardous environments where it is too risky for a person to be inside the car to, let's say, taxi sharing or any kind of delivery services and so on. But once again, the problem in this use case is that the car solely relies on the good 5G connectivity. And when you don't have a good 5G connectivity, for example, due to the fact that somebody is doing the speed test, somebody is having that concert held, your video quality goes very poor. And now what Elmo did, you just saw the change. They integrated a couple lines of Python code, and if I remember right, it took on like 30 minutes for them to add one additional button into their existing solution to enable the QoD switch on and off. And then also in this video I'm showing that these calls we were able to track live from our backend systems, which I will show you also in a minute. But once again, network as code enables or improves existing use case to work just a little bit better. And sometimes, for example, in this case, it's very crucial that you have good signal connectivity, because if you are driving in a highway or any location, you need to have a crystal clear picture, and you need to be able to react fast. If your brake signal is not sent to the car in tens of milliseconds, the car might have already crashed to something. And today Elmo is tackling that issue once again by using multiple SIM cards. So they have 4 SIM cards in place, and if some of those stop operation, then they have some special software in place to try to send the data from other connections. Yes.
So I understand, and I'm all for this, I think it makes a lot of sense. But lots of the use cases that you've shown us are predictable. The quality of demand is beneficial because it's can be used unpredictably in like more of a B2C type environment. This all seems very B2B, and therefore, could we not already achieve part of this with kind of premium SIM cards, which already predefined as having this priority throughputs, priority latency? So I mean, I know that car is going to go around, so I could just already in the offer at the CSP level say that this is a priority SIM card. What's the kind of additional benefits of using this quality on demand kind of on the fly?
That's a great question. One thing is that in theory, yes, that would be possible to have maximum priorities and maximum data rates in place, but I would say it's not beneficial that somebody who is not constantly using such an important service firstly would pay a high price for CSPs. Of course, they would price that kind of SIM card subscription very high, and that it also means that it's a lot better to have an existing SIM card, existing subscriptions. And when we are talking about this QOD, you can dynamically, if you need a 1 minute boost, you can do that. If you need 30 minutes Teams call boost, you can do that. So it gives that dynamicity in place, and also gives that boost only when it's needed. So it's not that you have this special SIM card that you run the speed test, and you can then be sure that nobody can enjoy a good network. So that's the thinking behind it.
And maybe if I can add on that, it's there are also like two types of. So when we talk about quality on demand, we also talk about different types of capabilities. So either we will be just changing a profile, or later on, once 5GSA the standalone service is going to become available, we can also make this a reality by enabling a part of the network, which is called network slicing. So you can enable that on demand as well. So now you can change just the profile, giving you an extra boost, I would say. But later on, for these types of use cases, we can integrate one specific slice for this particular use case in the network. So taking advantage of more than just just one profile.
All right, and just that was the last slide of the use cases, and now it's actually time to show some live demonstrations here. So let me switch to my computer and show some nice things with our developer portal. So this is, by the way, our developer portal, but this is tuned up just a little bit further by adding this chat button here. And what this chat button does is that, of course, you can go through your documentation, our documentation pages, and study how network as code works. But what if you could say that, hi, give me a Python code that runs a QOD for the device. And when I run that, this text prompt is sent from this laptop to Google Cloud, Vertex AI, and our pre-trained Gemini AI model, which knows now all the documentation from our web pages, can produce a nice code snippet for us to use. But the thing is that this is just a template code, so it's not that nice to show in this workshop. So instead of that, let me copy. I don't want to spend time writing that one, but now I send additional prompt, and this actually now reflects to the real world device which I have a remote connection. So I define what kind of boost I want, what is my device phone number, and what is the application server that I want to boost. And just now it gave me some output and then also a nice explanation what the code does. So zero knowledge, I just with human language ask that, hey, give me a code. Now I can jump to my remote environment. So this is actually in the Nokia arena at the moment. And now when I copy paste the code, let's see what happens. So I have also an Android phone remotely available from the Nokia arena. It is connected into 5G network. And it looks, we have 4 to 5 megabits downlink there, so not that good. I asked just a second ago from Gemini, give me a QOD boost code. So let's see what it gave. It gave me that import some libraries, okay. Then, as I said, I have some private token, for obvious reason not visible here. I would use that to authenticate my client. And then it says that use something like this. And so to set up my device, and then there is that create the QOD session. And now this is where the magic happens. So when I run that line of code, my laptop sends the request to Nokia's global backend system. With that phone number information, routes that request to Elisa's 5G network. And the radio which this device is connected then gets a new instructions that, hey, by the way, this connection needs to be now assured with a higher quality of service. So let's run now that line of code. And boom, 400 milliseconds later, the radio which this device is connected, ELISA 5G radio, it got dynamically new instructions that, hey, by the way, all the bits that needs to be sent from this phone to that device needs to be now assured with higher quality of service. And then Gemini also told me that if you want to delete the session, run my session.delete. So let's run that one. And looks like the radio got once again dynamically instructions that, hey, this dynamic boost is not anymore needed. You can switch back to your traditional subscription. So this is what we are enabling for the software developers. And if we just quickly go through the Network as Code Developer portal, which you can access yourselves, even you can take a picture if you want. It is here, the web page. And we have, for example, 6 commercially available products available from our platform: device location, device status, network insights, QoD, some security and privacy, and specialized networks. And as I mentioned, if you are a software developer, you can spend 15 minutes, go through our industry standard formatted documentation pages, get access to code snippets. And if you are also having access to our platform, you can see the analytics, billing, all of that information. So for example, when I run the request, my session timed out, so sorry, you are not now going to see it again, but from the logs page, you can see all those logs and requests. Did those go through? Did it not go through? And it eases up for you in debugging. And what else we can do? As I mentioned in the beginning, we also have, for example, device location API. And it's actually 3 lines of code to run. And with these 3 lines of code, what I can do is that I can pull in real time the location of this Android phone from the operator system. So what it means is that, of course, authorization and consent needs to be in place. But basically, this phone doesn't need to send any bits towards my remote laptop to get that location. Instead, when I run that line of code, which I run now, I get, once again, in around 400 milliseconds, a real-time location of that device from operator systems. So it asks from the 5G systems that, hey, by the way, which cell tower this device is connected. And with that information, we can then define the estimated location of the device. And you can now imagine that if you have any use cases which might have, let's say, 1,000 IoT devices, those might even like GPS chip, or you have fraud detection, you might to ensure that the device needs to be in a specific location, specific country. This is a pretty powerful tool to do that. And then the last one, which I can live demonstrate here, is device status. And what device status does, you can subscribe for notifications for your device. And what kind of subscriptions you can define, those are camera standardized. So for example, if the device receives the connection, switches off from airplane mode or connects to the network, or if the connectivity disconnects, so the device goes in the airplane mode, but it runs out, you can get informed by those automatically. And let me show you how that happens. So when I have here a lines of code, let me run those, and then I just set up a notification server URL. It is a temporary one. We can see here now a web server, and whenever this device goes offline or online, the operator system should send a notification to this browser window automatically. But before it happens, I need to create these subscriptions. So I say that, hey, send me all those informations to that URL, and once again, send me disconnect information to that address. So now when I open this and I go from my Android phone here and I press airplane mode, instantly it fires up a notification that, hey, your device has lost the connectivity. And what it means is that if you are using drone, IoT device, anything, you don't need to start troubleshooting that, hey, what's the problem? If you receive this message, you know right away that there is a device which have lost the 5G connectivity. So this is also quite powerful tool to incorporate into existing solutions, probably to improve operations or even open up a new use cases in your existing applications. But hey, I'm looking at the time, and it looks like that we need to move to the last part of the presentation. So just showing that we are building a huge ecosystem around network as code. And now for the last 5 minutes, if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to try to answer those.